You're listening to a Very Spatial podcast, episode 783, April 19th, 2026.
Hello and welcome to our Very Spatial podcast. I'm Jesse.
I'm Sue.
I'm Barb.
And this is Frank.
And this week we're going to be talking to folks from the American Association of Geographers Conference. I believe we're going to be talking to folks from Esri. I think that's what I'm going to go with this time. First, I guess, some news.
Yes, of course, the news. Artemis II. Successful mission. 10 days around the moon. And a successful return and splashdown. So, NASA still has it.
Was anyone else disappointed by the lack of excitement about this?
I know. But, you know.
I feel it's a percentage thing. There was excitement, but far smaller than it was in the past.
Yeah, well, I was in a meeting and I got the headline from the New York Times because I subscribe to that and they give me, headlines about stuff. And this one, they said the Artemis crew has just passed the furthest, Apollo 13, I think, was the furthest distance that humans have ever gotten. And I said, hold on, in the middle of the meeting. I said, hold on. This is the breaking news. And everyone went, oh, cool. I was like, what do you mean, oh, cool? That's the furthest humans have ever been in all of humanity. That's amazing. I was disappointed.
But you in the audience can, of course, be excited about the fact that not only did we have Artemis II, we are shortly to be witnessing Artemis III next year, right?
I'm not sure of the launch date, like right off the top of my head.
It has shifted from being a landing, which it originally was. Earlier this year, they announced that it'll be another flyby test flight, essentially. And then Artemis IV, I believe, is now the planned touchdown in 2028.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because it's been so long since the shuttle, right? It's been which was our last major space thing. I mean, I could blame it on other things that people felt were more important, like in the media and stuff like that, for awareness. And that upsets me, but what do you.
There's that. But I mean, you did have the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule.
They're not the same. Well, yeah, Dragon. But.
And so, there was some excitement around that, but again, still not at what it was in the mid 80s whenever it was the launch of the space shuttle. It's definitely not what it was in the launch of the original moon missions and initial launches in general for the United States.
I don't know. As a sustainability person and a GIS person, it felt like I felt it in my heart. And I have reflected and I've talked to other people about, that first mission and the images we saw and just how much now we're going to have so much more information, and also the comments that the astronauts were making when they described us as Spaceship Earth. To me, it just felt like a seminal moment of looking at the Earth again and seeing, what we need to do and another inspiration. So it might not have reached as far yet, but I think that that's going to seep into the public imagination.
I'm sorry. If you can't look at the pictures they took from Artemis II and if you've seen that sort of shot that shows the Artemis II of Earth and then the Apollo of Earth sort of side by side and not get, a stirring in your heart, go see a doctor. You're dead inside. That's just how I feel. It's astounding. And if you're not excited by it, that's a you problem.
Here's the counterpoint is that then people are apparently taking some of the false color images and saying, oh, look, these are the colors of the moon, not understanding that. And you just found out about this from a YouTube video last night that people were posting all these colorized images of the moon saying this is what the moon actually looks like. And I'm like, well, yes. In the portions of the spectrum that we can't see, that is in fact what it looks like. But that's whenever we represent them as things that we can see.
I say, or more accurately, it's not what it looks like. It's when we pretend this color is actually that is what it would look like. I just gave a lecture last week, I think, or the week before on remote sensing. And so the students were a bit taken aback. They didn't realize about a lot of this recolorization IR stuff. But I'm going to preface everything you just said. As you said, some people, I would like to interject morons. Morons are doing this and they should not be doing this.
See, I'm going to disagree and say it's a lack of education and geographic literacy that's also been made worse by AI.
And social media.
I am not willing to let people off as much at that. This is not hard to find out information.
But hey, that is at least getting them excited about things. And they're not wrong. That's what it looks like in this situation. They just don't understand the situation.
That's how I feel about the flat earth and Artemis. I'm like, well, at least they're talking about it.
And so, anything else about Artemis 2, Sue?
No, just continue. Again, I'll continue my excitement.
I just want to point out, is exciting. It should be exciting to everyone that Artemis 4 now is going to land on the moon, whereas Apollo 11 was the first to land on the moon. I mean, so we're getting better at this, and it could be an easier, more regular thing. And that's pretty cool too.
It does seem that the plan is to begin to construct a habitat as part of 4, if I understand correctly. And again, that's 2 years away. Who knows how it's going to change between now and then.
In feelings, that'll be 14 decades.
Yeah.
I literally played that NASA game they put out a long time ago on building the shelters and stuff. It's finally come true almost soon.
I, of course, I will never see it, but the day when we can combine what we learned with the shuttle and, of course, the moon missions and not have to splash down and spend so much money to go get our people out in the water, they'll be able to just land. That'll be so cool. I don't believe I will see it, though.
I saw a thing, somebody commented, I think it was on Reddit, so, take that for what it's worth, but somebody commented, like, how do they know exactly where to pick them up? And I was like, oh, this is actually a really cool geospatial thing, right? Is it, GPS and all that signal, and, it's pre-planned and all that. I just...
That's where, astrophysics comes into play, that these bodies have gravities that are fairly predictable.
I just thought, oh, this would be a really great module for, certainly a middle school, junior high type of science class to start explaining how they can do this. I just thought it was an innocuous question seemingly, but wow, this would make a really good training thing to explain to kids.
Any other news? I mean, there's lots of news, but we didn't go out and find a lot. What I saw was just like, I don't want to talk about that.
I think it's the time of year where things are kind of slow for some reason, because I've noticed like most of the news have been relatively innocuous, not that big of a deal.
I mean, there's still products being released. There's new mergers, companies working together. New AI tools, of course, are coming around every day. We probably should talk to Envy at some point in time, or NV5.
Mm-hmm.
It took me until last week to, and I may have thought of it before, but the fact that Envy was most recently acquired by NV5. So yeah, lots of things going on, but we're not going to talk about them. But we'll talk to folks in interviews after the Web Corner.
In the Web Corner, NCGE, National Council for Geographic Education, has a new to me, it's been around, but GeoCircles. These are monthly unscripted webinars, virtual discussions for geography educators to talk about topics. An example coming up is how you bring current events into the geography classroom. And I just thought this was a really great opportunity for geography educators of all types.
And the sessions are monthly. So, if you can't catch this one, there's another one just around the next month. And I think anyone can participate for the most part. So they're pretty cool webinars.
And of course, the National Council on Geographic Education in general, especially if you're K-12, but really a ton of their stuff definitely rolls over to higher ed as well. It's just a great place to make contact with other geography educators, but also to find tons of resources for the classroom, for research, for service, just things out there. If you are in K-12, they are the place to go if you want access to one of the giant maps. There's other groups as well, but they can, if there is a local one, they can probably point you to it. But really just getting access to those giant maps are kind of cool.
Personally, if you ask me, I think that this organization is equally as critical to higher education, because even if you're just vaguely participating, you get some idea of what kids are coming in knowing about geography, which is something, when it comes to like a math or English, there's a placement test or something like that. You have some idea of where they're sitting at. But with geography, we don't tend to have that. And so we kind of don't know on our intro classes, what do these kids know? And it's going to be highly variable from place to place. So some indication of what they're talking about, I think, helps figure out where you're going to enter the stream at the higher education level.
It's also good for providing resources for students that you're teaching that are going to go out and be teachers themselves. And it's just a great organization. I was on a panel and several people from NCGE were there, and they're just all around nice and supportive.
Happy to be joined today by Angela Lee, who is the Director of Education Solutions. Thank you for joining. At Esri, I guess I should mention. Thank you for joining me today.
So excited to finally do this.
Have we never gotten you on a microphone before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
Maybe.
I thought for 5 minutes we had one. Now I've got to go back and search later.
Yeah.
Well, we've known each other for a while and have talked for a while, maybe not on microphone. And we were just talking about how much things have changed. But at the same time, many things stay the same.
Very true.
Tell us a little bit about how Esri is still supporting the education, because, of course, we're at the Association of American Geographers, a lot of education institutions here. So tell us a little bit what's going on.
It is interesting, the sort of constants, the foundations that stay the same, the value of learning to think geographically, like that never changes. But how you put that into practice changes because the technology changes so much. One of the newer projects that we're working on is a partnership with National Geographic to create a tool that's customized for use in K-12 classrooms. So that is really aimed at, introducing broad spatial literacy, working with maps to understand all sorts of topics. So that has been exciting, but then at the same time, that's one of the first projects I worked on when I joined Esri that was designed for K-12 classrooms. I don't know if it's this conference or this moment in time, but just the idea that, learning to think is more important than learning any particular software technology.
Well, I think a lot of it has come around by the fact that we are dealing with so many solutions and services that are interoperable. And, again, whenever we started talking many years ago, interoperability was still an issue.
Right.
And the fact that we can jump from service to data set to tool to interface and all of it together, it makes that part easier. But at the same time, if you don't know what you're trying to convey or what you're trying to take out of it, you're at a loss. So the education...
Exactly. I mean, right now, especially at this conference, all the conversations are about AI. And to your point, somebody still needs to decide what question to ask. Somebody still needs to evaluate what the response is and if it's useful or not. And so, that is back to being able to think critically, being able to understand how things relate to one another. The superpower of geographers is being able to synthesize information, see how things relate, see how things change over time. And so, I think I'm very interested to see how AI changes the practice of education. Sure, it's great for changing GIS because now you can process data differently, larger volumes, more sophisticated techniques or algorithms. But, I think the real promise of AI is that personalized education, the tutor that helps you learn to think. And I think what'll be interesting to see is, do students embrace AI to help them think or to just get to the answer and answer more quickly, and then are they able, again, to evaluate, is that answer useful? Is it actually going to solve a problem or just create more problems down the road?
We're also facing a third set of students who are pushing back against AI because they're seeing it as the thing coming for their opportunities. So that's a whole other, I think, conversation. But yeah, at this conference, and I still am not sure if it's because it's in San Francisco or if it's just the year that it's happening in, where GeoAI or AI in general has been almost in every session.
Probably a little bit of both, right? Like, we're here in San Francisco, the ground zero of the tech world. But also, I think a lot of it is just the time. It's exploding everywhere in higher education, in K-12. So, it'll be interesting what the conversation is a year from now.
Well, let's talk about the conversation that's been going on for the last couple of years. And this is more from the education side, I think, of how to engage students to use these tools well. Because we're in the day job, we're in a department of anthropology and geography, but we're in a college of education and social sciences. So we're, working a lot with educators, especially tech educators, as they're looking at this and trying to work through it and using everything from HeyGen to create videos for them to just getting students to use a tool correctly. What kind of things are you hearing as you're going through some of those conversations with education as opposed to geography? Or do you get sent more to the geography conferences and not the education conferences?
Variety of things. So I did a session at the Esri Federal GIS Conference on AI and education, and then obviously here, and then like UCGIS, they're all about AI this summer. At the Esri Fed conference, it was an interesting conversation. We had some high school teachers, some undergraduate students, and some professors. And so half of the room was like, I don't want to say head in the sand, but some of the high school teachers were saying, we're not even allowed to use it. And some of the undergraduate students were really wrestling with, if I use it, am I cheating? Like, not necessarily. It's all about your motivation, Are you using it to test your ideas, to help you, or are you using it to avoid thinking? So it's everything from, students, like you said, that really don't want to use it because they recognize they need to learn to think for themselves. Professors who are recognizing that students are going to use it anyway and saying, well, I don't want to grade papers that were written by AI. I want to grade papers that, are thoughtfully written by students. Somebody said, well, just have AI grade the papers. Like, well, okay, but so it's all over the board. And again, I think it comes down to motivation. Are you trying to take the shortcut, or are you trying to engage, trying to leverage the benefits? I think the most powerful uses of AI will be as a support. So the session I did at FedGIS, I intentionally named Augmenting Intelligence, AI, Augmenting Intelligence. I spoke to an Esri partner who has, a lot of programmers, and he said the programmers that use AI are 10 times more productive than the entry-level programmers he would have hired a year or two ago. It's like, okay, so it really can add value if you approach it correctly. But then now he was struggling with, how do I think about my staffing plan? Like, if the people I have are now 10 times productive, does that mean I hire fewer people? Does it mean I take on more projects? Just so fascinating to wrestle with.
It's a base shift from where we were 4 years ago. As part of this, of course, going back around to the Esri suite, can you mention quickly how AI is being integrated right now? Because, of course, it's coming into ArcGIS Online, into desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. So started out AI being integrated into some of the analytical tools. So, machine learning supporting image extraction or supporting spatial statistics. What we're seeing right now, starting to roll out and continuing to roll out over the next year or two, is AI assistants in ArcGIS. So that idea of a coach or somebody that will guide somebody through a workflow. For example, I want to make a map of population density with a blue color ramp. So these AI assistants provide a conversational interface for the software. So as long as you know where you want to get, as long as you have a clear idea of the goal, AI assistant will enable people without a lot of knowledge of the software buttons. They will enable somebody to be more productive. So I think that has a lot of promise in helping people in business, in natural resource management, and public health who have some other domain expertise, who recognize that they might have a spatial problem to solve, but they haven't taken, 3 years of GIS classes. Will help them become more productive with GIS and spatial analysis. And then on the horizon, just starting to come into beta, are AI agents. So think of that like model builder or some sort of, flow charting thing where you can put together a workflow, and there's an element of the AI assistants, like they can suggest how you might approach something, but also they can then link out to other systems. You mentioned interoperability earlier. So that's the next big thing, is ArcGIS being able to link to other AI models in other ecosystems.
I think, there's this... I know people who listen to the podcast are tired of me talking about it, but you pointed out the fact that machine learning, deep learning, it's been here for decades. It's been in ArcGIS, it's been in every remote sensing package. Now it's this movement into assistance that's really changing the Gen AI, that's changing the way that we're doing things versus our traditional AI of neural networks, expert systems, those type of things. So it was nice to hear somebody else say it for me to
yeah.
jump on again.
Absolutely. The first time I heard about neural networks was when I was in graduate school, and one of my colleagues was working with neural networks, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So definitely been around.
As we're moving into the summertime, more people are thinking about how they're going to spend their summer doing geography or learning about geography. Are there any specific programs you're kind of highlighting right now in terms of MOOCs that might be happening or learning pathways in training that you might want to highlight?
Sure. So we work with Esri's educational services team. There's a person who compiles a guide to all of the web courses and training seminars. So it's called the Esri Higher Education Guide to E-Learning, and so we have one specifically for AI. Right now, there are several web courses. I know there will be other training seminars. Those are like hour-long conversations. And then at the user conference, certainly there will be several sessions. We're doing the Esri Remote Sensing and Imagery Educator Summit. No, it's the Imagery and Remote Sensing Educator Summit because we call it IRSES, IRSES. Anyhow, we'll have some sessions on AI, primarily in image processing, working with remotely sensed data. What else? And then certainly the UCGIS meeting in June will feature AI, GeoAI
Are there
prominently.
any other things you want to highlight? I mean, we just had the update to 3.6.2, one of the two, and the February update in ArcGIS Online. Anything you kind of were excited about in either of those two releases?
I know in the June-July timeframe, some more of the AI assistants will be released.
Out of
so
beta?
there'll be some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, moving out of beta into preview at least. And so that'll be some exciting capabilities in Pro, more so in ArcGIS Online, and then there will be a business model change in drone to map and ArcGIS Reality coming in the spring, so that currently there are 2 versions of drone to map.
Yes.
They're going to fold back into a single version, and then the ArcGIS Reality extension for Pro will become more widely available, and so that'll open up a lot of the reality capture, like drone mapping to feature extraction to create 3D data sets. A lot of that capability is going to become more available especially in our education license programs. So I'm looking forward to that capability becoming more available and then feeding into some of these AI and digital twin workflows.
It's the ability to do more of the reality capture. I think that is, in the recent release, that was one of the big things, of course, the Gaussian splats being added to ArcGIS Online and other tools. So, it's exciting to see that that's going to be coming more into the education site licenses compared to where we were.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's one of those things, like, sometimes I am a little skeptical of reality capture, Gaussian splats, photorealistic, all of that stuff. But then I've also seen some compelling evidence that, these more photorealistic representations in augmented reality, XR kinds of headsets, this idea of virtual field trips, or the impact that those immersive experiences that really give you a visceral experience, like the impact those have on learning. So that's another, I think, really fascinating area to watch. Like, okay, do we get to the point where virtual reality has true educational value, where it really enables people to explore parts of the world that they won't or aren't in a position to travel to? And what does that do in terms of helping us get along better with people from other cultures or other parts of the world?
And you have, taking advantage of other aspects of AI within the augmented systems, real-time translation systems and things like that, so you can interact with other people in real time on other parts of the world, or just taking advantage of recorded materials and letting it be, translated as you're interacting with it.
Yeah, exactly. That should be huge for helping people interact cross-culturally. Yeah, that definitely will be interesting to see also.
I mean, everybody on our end of the podcast have been doing VR for decades now, from grad school on. And we kept talking about it, and we kept talking about location-based services, and talked a little bit about AI. And location-based services made its reveal a decade or more ago. AI has now jumped into the main sphere. Someday, the thing that we've been looking at for all of our professional careers, AR, XR, will eventually be the thing that, brings a lot of it together.
Yeah, it seems like it's right on the horizon.
We keep saying that every year. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, as soon as I said that, I realized, that's been the story for 10 years.
But that's about it. We'll let you get back to the rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Jesse. This was so much fun.
On to the Events Corner. As always, we encourage you to head out and check out lots of events. Events around the world. Or, in the case of our two that we have in here, in the southeast of the United States.
NCGE Annual Conference will be October 16th to the 18th in Richmond, Virginia.
The 81st CDAG annual meeting will be November 22nd through 23rd in Tuscaloosa. They have their call for papers and posters right now. And I just want to say again, 81st.
And we're jumping back in time just a little bit. So, and moving out of the southeast of the United States, still in the eastern, I would argue. But we have GIS per 2026, October 12th to the 15th in Milwaukee. So check those things out. If you're in the Great Lakes, that will also be about the same time as the East Lakes and West Lakes for the AAG. There's lots. head over to the AAG website and you can find links to all of those different regional conferences for the AAG. And of course, if you'd like us to share your event, send us an email to podcast@veryspatial.com.
If you'd like to reach us individually, I can be reached at sue@veryspatial.com.
I can be reached at barb@veryspatial.com.
You can reach me at frank@veryspatial.com.
And I'm found at Kinda Spatial, and you can find all of our contact information over at veryspatial.com/contacts.
As always,
We're the folks from Very Spatial.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.